What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Grave Media. This is Josh here, checking in on you out there in YouTube land. YouTube, how are you doing? It is Friday Eve. I am out in my cold-ass garage. It is below freezing. We've got slick roads, we got storms, we got weather. But tonight, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to pretend like you and me, we're best friends, right? You're my dude. I haven't seen you in like 4 years, and I've come home to visit for maybe just a holiday break, or someone's getting married for whatever reason. We go back to one of those old haunts, one of those old hangs, one of those old pubs, our favorite dive bar, and I just want to pull up a bar stool and I want to order a beer and I want to explain this film to you. I want to recommend this movie that I watched last night that I had never seen. This is a case of when a blind buy goes right, and I was completely floored. I'm going to be just completely honest as I can tonight. I'll try not to say the F word too many fucking times, right? But I was just overwhelmed by this film that I watched last night. It does help that I knew all of the legend and the lore and people that had worked on this film. I just had a blind spot where I'd never seen it. So I was just overwhelmed. That film that we're talking about right now is 1974's Deranged. Dude, have you seen this? Have you want to, but you've heard about it. Dude, me too. I finally took the plunge and I was like, Vinegar Syndrome is putting this out on 4K. I've got to pick this up. I've got to check this out for myself, for my love of, the serial killer Ed Gein. I shouldn't say my love, but dude, I've always kind of been really curious with Ed Gein, and he's just fascinated me since I was a little kid. We talk about this all the time, right? I'm a weirdo. So Deranged is a story that has a lot of other films, kind of in mind. There's a lot of other films that have made a similar story to this, but Deranged is a confession of a dude that likes to exhume corpses, right? And it tells the story, it tells the kind of the real story of what happened to the Butcher or the Ghoul of Plainfield, Ed Gein. You know what I'm talking about, dude? Edward Gein, right? That crazy mother effer out of there. So there's been a lot of films that have done this. Obviously we have Buffalo Bill, Manhunter, right? We've got Silence of the Lambs. They play it off of the Ed Gein pretty well. 1960s Psycho, Norman Bates, right? Amazing Hitchcock film, right? Where Ed Gein was kind of the inspiration. And then one of the best horror films of all time. I mean, it's not even a joke. It's probably, if it's not number one, it's in the top 3, top 5 if you're a bad person. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know how much I love this film, especially the media release. Can you believe I got this, dude? Look at that media release. The slip is so cool. Anyway, Deranged, man, you got to check it out. I'm telling you right now, this film gives no F's. It gives no quarter. It does not take itself super seriously while also taking itself really seriously. What I mean, dude, it breaks the third wall, right? So it'll be telling you hey, I hope you're ready for a film that is going to tell you exactly what happened with Edward Gein and the women and the people that he butchered, while also kind of giving you a trigger warning, a parental advisory, if you will, right? Viewer discretion from 1974. Pretty awesome. And this narrator just kind of shows up in this film to kind of piece things together as we're going through this fella. Ezra, is it Ezra Cobb, right? And he lives with mom, okay? So Ezra Cobb and mom, he's kind of a simpleton. He lives kind of just a basic, simple life where he's just been taking care of his mom. And I don't know if it's over Stockholm Syndrome or Munchausen or what, but for whatever reason, she has conditioned him that women are evil. They carry diseases and you cannot be around them, and only mother is okay, except for this one other lady. And so Ezra, or Ed Gein, depending on how you look at the film, he kind of seals off the house after mom has a stroke, and he just takes care of her. For years this goes on. His psychosis develops, and he just becomes a shell of himself, and he just becomes socially unacceptable, and he's just a servant to help with mom. Mom is dying. There's a crazy scene in the bedroom, and within the first 12 minutes of this film, dude, I leaned in and I was like, what the hell is Vinegar Syndrome doing with it? This looks so good. The colors, I was so into this movie. I could not believe it. I was just that scene on her deathbed when he's trying to feed her soup. Dude, you gotta watch it. You gotta see it. Then you can guess what happens, right? We go to a funeral. It's super awkward because mom doesn't let him have any friends. Okay, so then he goes home and he's just miserable. He's lonely. He's socially inept. He has no friends. He's just worrisome. He's just sickly. He can't handle it. So after a year, he goes and he brings his mother home. And there is a scene in the graveyard where he is digging this thing up, and the color and the scope of what happens, he brings it in the truck, he's talking to it. They're probably listening to the golden oldies, right? Maybe a little bit of that. Indiana Hick music, whatever's going on. And then he gets pulled over by a cop, and of course he blames it on a pig. You gotta, right? You wouldn't believe this scene, dude. She's blue. It's crazy. He gets her home, and the rest of the film is kind of like him trying to make mom okay, whether that means digging up other corpses, getting other human remains to try to like fix the skin. He learns taxidermy. He's got his house just becomes a complete wreck, right? Roadkill, animals, bones, teeth, skin. It's a lot. And it's actually this crazy character study while this is all going on with Ezra and his friends, the one friend that he has, right? The reason that I'd heard so much about it was because Tom Savini, this was the very first film he had worked on in 1974. And you want to talk about coming out of the gate swinging? Tom Savini, dude, he comes out in this film, he unleashes just hell. Tom Savini's kind of known now for that signature color, that deep red, his blood color that's almost like a syrup, right? That Dawn of the Dead. And I know that people have issues with the colors of Dawn of the Dead, and it's been corrected over here, but back in the 70s and the early 80s, man, when Tom Savini was doing the effects, his blood color was something special. In this film, he's taken off skin and body parts and maiming and severing things and pulling things apart, prying. It is out of control. Tom Savini just crushes the gore in this film to where I was like, I was not expecting this film to go so hard in the paint. I don't know this was a major blind spot, dude. If you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. It's got, it's not like the goriest, most shocking thing the whole time, but there's a couple of scenes, man, where you're gonna be like, this is almost some Faces of Death stuff here. This is something special, and it took me for a ride. I had the best time with the characters and just kind of knowing the story of Ed Gein. He didn't kill a lot of people, but the people that he did it like crazy, where he just, cut that woman hung her like a deer out in the shop. He does that in this film, and it's shown in graphic detail, and parts of it seems like she's still alive, right? There's a pillow scene. There's a weird seance scene. There is some scenes in this film, man, where, we also got to talk about the whole reason why this film works. Do you know Old Man Marley, right? The Southtown Slayer in Home Alone, or even better when he's in Christine and he's like, shitter, right? He's the dude that sells Arnie the car, Christine. Man, dude, that dude, what's his name? Robert Blossoms? He just kills this role. I'm talking kills this thing. The whole time he was talking, I'm like, I know that voice. That voice reminds me of a church and maybe like a shovel or something. And I was like, oh, it's the church scene from Home Alone where he's trying to talk to Kevin McAllister, right, into his family. And Robert Blossoms just crushes this role 100%. Old Man Marley. I took a couple of notes, but we don't have to totally get into it. I think that the reason that this blind buy works is because Vinegar Syndrome did such a bang-up job on the 4K transfer, and then also the things that you get with this. Now, the audio is only a 2.0 mono, but it's an old-ass movie, and the vocals are right up front, so it sounds still really good, and you've got this dude wearing people's faces. You've got him like, there's a dinner scene that's taken straight out of like something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where he's got all of his victims, and they're all just like having this tea party, and it's bizarre, and it lingers. It's like 10 minutes. It is strange, man. It's odd, and I fucking loved it. I did not know how much I was gonna love this film. It's immediately the best thing I've watched this year, right? Dude, you gotta watch it. I'm telling you, man, you gotta watch it. I text my buddy, our buddy Mike. I text him too, right? I was like, dude, have you seen Deranged? He's like, dude, I got that on VHS, of course. I'm like, damn it, I knew it was gonna be good, but shame on me, man. As a big fan of, all the other Ed Gein, even like some of my favorite bands growing up, like Slayer had Dead Skin Mask, and I had serial killer books. I had books on Ed Gein, man. I was just fascinated. So the fact that I didn't have this, I was a weirdo, and I feel like it's complete. I feel like that movie, I've seen so many of those bad, like 2000s, late 90s, those serial killer, all those ones that they had, from the Bundys to the Dahmers to the Geins, right? Those were all mostly terrible. There's a couple ones that are okay. The Gacy one, there was some that were all right, but this Deranged, dude, you gotta pick this up. I mean, it's something. It totally blew me away. The Butcher of Plainfield should be this. Now, we got to break bread here for just a second. We got to talk about which is the most accurate portrayal of Ed Gein in cinematic history, right? You got Silence of the Lambs, you got Psycho, and you have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, okay? Or from the same year, curiously, 74's Deranged. I don't know about you, but Deranged follows the Ed Gein story, and having that narrator come through and kind of guide you along and give you a little bit of a warning, right? This little cover's embossed. It's embossed, the slip. Damn you, Vinegar Syndrome. Just when I think I could take a break, you pull me back in. So, Deranged is the best version for the Ed Gein story out there. This is the best adaptation. This is as good as it gets. Now, the best film about it is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay. Silence of the Lambs is an Academy Award-winning film, and it's that for a reason. But for me, for my money, it's Texas Chainsaw. This is the best movie about Ed Gein that's based on him, but this one right here is the real deal. If you haven't seen Deranged, dude, do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, go watch this thing. Watch it first if you're curious. And you can pick it up from Arrow for relatively cheap. But if you just want to take a shot in the dark and you kind of like my kind of horror films, you like disturbing, you like gore, you like kind of character studies, psychological horror, serial killers, you got to put Deranged on your list. You got to go pick this thing up and then comment down below and let me know what you think. I'm going to take another one of those Rainiers if you got it.